A grand gold chandelier hung overhead, casting a warm, opulent glow over the lavish room. A table adorned with fine wine and fresh fruit sat untouched, a symbol of indulgence and power. Seated comfortably, Lee Min-sung smirked, swirling a glass of wine in his hand. Manipulating public opinion was almost too easy. With just a little acting, the narrative had already shifted in his favor. The headlines flooded in, painting him as a misunderstood hero rather than a suspect. Reaper Guild Vice Guild Master Lee Min-sung cleared of allegations by the association. Steps taken by the Reaper Guild for the public good revealed. The opening of the Soul Station Field, a project for the growth of upcoming hunters. Vice Guild Master Lee Min-sung continues his philanthropic deeds despite the Hyena.Guild incident. A woman entered the room, her gaze settling on Lee Min-sung with a knowing smirk as she acknowledged his rising reputation. Approaching him, she commented on his presence, suggesting that he should have informed her beforehand. With a simple command, she dismissed the other women in the room, leaving only the two of them. Lee Min-sung responded with a hint of irritation, questioning whether he was expected to report every action he took. The woman, unfazed, reassured him with a playful tone, implying that her words had not been meant as a strict demand, but rather a gesture of familiarity. Madame observed Lee Min-sung with disdain, her thoughts filled with contempt for his arrogant nature. Born into privilege and once a celebrated Korean superstar, it was no surprise that his pride soared unchecked. However, the cataclysm had delivered a crushing blow to that ego. When news of his awakening as an A-rank hunter broke, it became a nationwide sensation. Yet, the attention quickly shifted when his personal driver, Lim Tae-gyu, emerged as one of South Korea's few S-rank hunters. The unexpected reversal in status made headlines, upending the power dynamic that should have remained unchanged. Despite this humiliation, for reasons unknown, Lee Min-sung had chosen to join the Reaper Guild, an organization founded by none other than the very man who had once worked for him. Madame shifted the conversation to business, her tone turning serious. She brought up the topic of star powder, inquiring whether she could purchase it in bulk this time. Lee Min-sung, feigning ignorance at first, eventually admitted that meeting such a demand would be difficult. With the recent loss of a distributor and a factory, production had taken a hit. However, Madame remained unconvinced, subtly pressing him, knowing that someone of his influence wouldn't be out of options so easily. After a moment of thought, Lee Min-sung conceded that he would try to push his business partner for a solution. Madame, satisfied with his response, smirked, just as she had expected. Meanwhile, at the top of the building, a boy stood by the window, his fingers lightly touching the glass. His eyes burned with a fierce yellow flame as he gazed down at the city below. A low growl escaped his lips as he muttered under his breath. In the midst of battle, a group of goblins launched an attack. Gray moved with lightning speed, instantly killing two of them. Ezel, wielding his spear, struck down another, while Suho cut through the remaining goblins with swift, precise slashes of his weapon. Within moments, the horde lay defeated. Suho let out a sigh before preparing for the next wave. His impatience was evident, driven by the urgency of their earlier conversation. Their goal was clear, to obtain crucial information about Tat, the apostle of the Atarim, from Lee Min-sung, the key figure at the top of the star powder distribution chain. However, approaching him without expecting a battle would be dangerous. The challenge lay in extracting information from him. If Lee Min-sung refused to confess willingly, there was another option, devouring him to uncover his memories. Beru had been granted permission to consume humans, but only those deemed truly evil. Yet for that to happen, they first had to defeat him, and that was no small feat. Beru had assessed the power levels within the group. Based on his ability to gauge strength, Suho's current power, even with Gray's possession, barely surpassed that of a B-rank hunter. Frey was a D rank, Essel a C rank, and Suho, while stronger than most of his rank, was still not at the level needed to challenge an A rank like Lee Min-sung and the Reaper Guild. The difference in power was significant. It would take approximately 10 D-rank hunters to defeat a single C rank. Given their current abilities, they were still lacking the strength necessary to take on such a formidable opponent. Curious, Essel inquired about Baru's rank. In response, Baru confidently declared his status. He was a marshal. A notification appeared, signaling the completion of a daily quest. Quest notice. Daily quest. Shadow dungeon cleaning. Completed. A follow-up message prompted a check on the rewards. Notice. You have received a reward for completing a quest. As the system processed the completion, the details of the rewards were displayed. Quest reward notice. You will receive the following rewards. Reward 1, status recovery. Reward 2, +3 stat points. Reward 3, 1 random box. Suho observed the quest interface, noting that the count remained unchanged despite taking down more enemies. He realized that the hidden reward must have been a one-time occurrence. Without hesitation, he issued a command. Open random box. A notification appeared before Suho. Notice. You have obtained an item. Ashen ring. Item. Ashen ring. Rarity, D. Type, accessory. Effect, sense. +5. Another notification followed. You have equipped Ashen ring. Sense, 24 to 29. Suho examined the ring on his finger. While the increase in sense was beneficial, it didn't drastically change his current situation. His level had stagnated despite continuously hunting goblins, and the slight improvement in his weapon's effect wasn't enough. Item, Vulcan Horn. O effect, Urge to Destroy, increases physical damage by 33%. O, recent improvement, +3% increase. Frustration crept into his thoughts. He wanted to grow stronger at a faster pace, but there were too few opportunities. To break through his current limits, he needed to enter a dungeon with formidable magic beasts and claim victory over them. Suho stared at his profile in the Hunter Association database, frustration evident on his face. Despite his efforts, the only job offers he received were for mining or hauling teams, tasks unsuitable for someone aiming to grow stronger. As expected, no strike squad was interested in an E-rank hunter like him. To make matters worse, the Hunter Association strictly forbade entering a gate without proper authorization. Beru, observing Suho's dilemma, suggested a re-evaluation. However, Suho immediately dismissed the idea. If he underwent a reawakening evaluation, the news would spread quickly, and the Hunter Association would publish an article about it on their homepage. That was something he had to avoid at all costs. With the knowledge that the Apostle of the Iterim was somewhere on Earth, keeping his identity hidden was crucial. If he was exposed, he could become a vulnerability that enemies could exploit against his father. Right now, when he wasn't even strong enough to defeat Li Minsung, let alone the Apostle of the Itarim, staying in the shadows was the best course of action. Beru explained that there was no immediate need for Suho to be concerned about the Apostle of the Itarim just yet. If they had arrived on Earth before Beru, it was likely that their power had been significantly weakened due to the effects of dimensional travel. Traveling between dimensions required passing through a dimensional rift, an unstable passage through outer space. The walls of this rift were extremely narrow and had the unique property of clashing with mana. Even if the outer walls were forcibly retracted, they would instantly close again. This meant that the stronger a being was and the more mana they possessed, the longer and more energy-draining the dimensional journey became. Because of this limitation, the vast army of the Itarim, which was waging war in outer space, was unable to launch a full-scale invasion of this galaxy. For the same reason, Beru's liege, the Shadow Monarch, had also been unable to travel here easily. Suho realized that the Itarim had used Brokey and the demons to operate in secrecy without revealing themselves. If their invasion was something planned for the future, then now was the ideal time for him to grow stronger in preparation. Beru acknowledged the situation, agreeing that the time had come. In the past, Sung Jinwoo had entrusted Beru with an important decision. Unable to predict the exact situation on Earth, he had left it to Beru to determine the best course of action upon arrival. Before parting, Jinwoo had given him a special key, instructing him to seek out someone who could provide invaluable support to Suho when the time came. Beru reflected on the other reason his liege had entrusted him with the key. Now was the time to use it. Just as he was about to approach Suho, both were suddenly struck with realization. Suho, surprised, wondered why he hadn't thought of it sooner. The method to secretly enter a gate, without violating the Hunter Association's rules, had been right in front of him all along. At the Ajin building, a man greeted Suho with a nostalgic smile. It had been a while since they last saw each other, and this was their first meeting since Suho's awakening. He admitted his curiosity when Suho unexpectedly reached out, but he hadn't expected him to come with a business proposal. Seeing how much Suho had grown filled him with admiration. With confidence, Suho declared that he had brought an offer that couldn't be refused. Observing the interaction, Beru acknowledged Suho's sharp instincts. As expected of the young monarch, he had managed to find the very person his liege had mentioned entirely on his own. Yu Jinho then turned to Suho with interest, confirming his understanding. Suho wanted his uncle's support to enter a gate.